sixth graders, we are here today with our pre-AP lessons out of our Course 2 book. This is 6-1, and we're also going to do 6-2. We're going to smush two of them together just because they're both about two-step equations. Go ahead and set up your Cornell notes, and we're going to get going. Our learning target here for 6-1 is that we are going to use variables to represent unknowns, and we've already been doing that with one-step equations. And then step 2 is we're going to translate word problems into algebraic expressions and equations. Now, we've also already done that, but we've only done it with one step. So today it just gets one step more complicated because now we have two-step. A little refresher here, this should all be reviewed to you, expressions and equations. An expression would be like 3n plus 6. It does not have an equal sign. And then don't forget our vocabulary here. Our coefficient is that number that's attached to the letter or the variable. And then our constant is our number over by itself. Now these are important because today when we go to solve them in the next lesson, you have to know which is which. The constant is by itself, the coefficient is attached to the variable. Now, an equation, we have also done that. It has the same vocabulary, but it has the equal sign. Don't forget it has our equal sign in there, because it's showing that both sides are balanced or both sides are equal. So a two-step equation, the reason it's called two-step is because there are two operations involved. Now the one-step ones that we already did, we did addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, but we only had one in each problem. So now there's going to be two. So we're going to have two of these in each, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about when we get going here. Don't forget, we're also going to do a tiny little bit of writing here that is review about our code words. When we go to write equations, two-step equations today, you have to know what these code words are or you're not going to know what operation to write. So for instance, increased, together, sum, and more than, those are all going to be addition. Decreased, difference, less than, subtraction. Of, product, and times, those are going to be multiplication. Out of is going to be division. And then, I know you can't really read those over there. I'm going to rewrite them. It says is, are, and will be. Those are all, if you can't read those are all equal. That's where our equal sign goes. Now I know these aren't all of them, but it's a good review because these are most of the ones that are used. The rest of them you should be able to figure out because we've been doing those many, many times. Now, once you have all of this done, we're going to go ahead and do an example. I don't have it written out, so I'm going to read it and kind of summarize it on here. So I'm going to scroll down at the bottom. I'm going to do an example. Now, our example is going to be a story. It's going to be like a story problem, and we have to write the equation that matches. So, for instance, our example, it says a photography studio charges a sitting fee, which means the first time you go there, you're charged $50, and then you have to pay $10 per photo ordered. Write an equation to represent the number of photos ordered, which will be P, if the total cost was $180. So I'm going to read that one more time, and I'm going to write the important stuff as I read it. A photography studio charges a fee of $50 when you come in the door. So $50 at the beginning. Then you have to pay $10 per photo. So I'm going to write $10 per photo. And we want to know how many photos we bought, which will be P. So I'll put photos is going to be P. If our total cost was $180. So our total equals $180. Now, I told you guys at the beginning when we did one-step equations that I like to start at the end. They tell me what my total is. So when I go to write this, you don't have to do it like me, but I'm going to write it like this, equals 180, because then I can check off my one piece of information. I know at the end I pay $180. Now, $50 to get in and $10 per photo. This one would be $50 when I walk in the door. That is not times by anything. I just have to pay that when I come in no matter what. So $50 is a loan. And then I'm going to have to add how many photos I buy. But it's not just P for photos. It's $10 per photo. So it would be $10 per photo, which is 10 times P. So this is my two-step equation. It has an addition sign here. And we know that 10 times P, that looks like this, 10 times P, that is multiplication. So it has our two steps in there, addition and multiplication. Now, we're going to look at how to solve those in the next one. So make sure you have this on your first page, and if you need to, move on to the second page, and we're going to look at how to solve these problems. So we learned how to write it. Now we're going to learn how to solve it. Okay, 6-2 is solving these two-step equations. Many of you might have a good idea of how to start solving these, and some of you were already doing them in our one step, but I'm going to go ahead and go through the steps anyways. So our learning target here is now we're going to learn how to get the variable by itself. So just like we did with one-step equations, we have to use inverse operations. We have to do the opposite of what we see. So what we're going to do is first we have to get rid of the constant. So first we do inverse operations with the constant. And the second thing we do is we get rid of the coefficient, and we just went over and reviewed those vocabulary. So if you need to go back and look at your other notes, then you need to do that. What this ends up looking like is it looks like you're doing the order of operations backwards because we're doing the constant first and then the coefficient next. And you'll see that here when we do an example. Remember that inverse operations, addition and subtraction, are opposites. They're inverse. And multiplication are inverse operations. So those two are the opposites of each other. Now, don't forget order of operations is PEMDAS. I wrote them right here. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, and then addition and subtraction. So when we solve it, you'll see we go backwards and we start at the end and work this way. And then when we check it, which we're going to check every single answer, we have to go ahead and use PEMDAS to check it and make sure that we are correct. Now we're going to go through two examples. One oh, I lied, just kidding, I didn't leave one on the page. We're going to go ahead and go through two examples. So you're going to make a T-chart like this so that each time you solve it and check it. So your T-chart looks like this. We have the solve on the left side and then check on the right side. Our first example here is going to be, let's see, green's probably going to be best. 2n minus 5 equals 7. We have to get rid of the constant first. So this is my constant and this is my coefficient. I need to get rid of the constant first, and we do the opposite. So I see minus 5, so I'm going to go ahead and do plus 5. Now this goes back to one-step equations because what I do on the left side, I also have to do on the right side. So if I added 5 over on the left, I need to add 5 over on the right. That gets rid of minus 5 plus 5 cancels. 7 plus 5 gets me 12. And then I go ahead and I bring down that number because I didn't get rid of that 2n. Now we haven't found the answer yet. We've only gotten rid of the constant. We did the subtraction first, so now I'm going to get rid of that multiplication. To get rid of multiplication, we do the opposite. The opposite of multiplication, division, so I need to divide by 2, and that gets us 1n, or just n. And then divide by 2 on this side, and we get 6. N equals 6 is what I believe the answer is, but I need to go on the other side now and I'm going to check it. So I need to go plug this back into the original equation. So I'm going to write it again, 2, and then my N is 6, I think. Then minus 5 equals 7. See how I just rewrote the equation, and instead of N, I plugged in my 6, which I believe to be the answer. Now, PEMDAS forwards, like normal PEMDAS, parentheses first, exponents, multiplication and division, then addition and subtraction. That would tell me that I need to do 2 times 6 first, which gets me 12. Then I rewrite everything else. I don't do 2 things at once. 12 minus 5 is 7 equals 7. We checked it and we have a balanced equation. Both sides are the same, so my N equals 6 is absolutely correct. So that is one example. If you think you know what to do on this second example, skip ahead and try and do it on your own first. That is perfectly fine. So I'm going to do one more example here. Okay, let's do black. Boop. Okay, our next one is going to be x over 4 minus 10 equals negative 6. Don't get freaked out by the negatives. Don't get freaked out by this fraction looking thing over here. You just need to think, what do I have to do first? First, we have to get rid of the constant. And PEMDAS backwards, if that way helps you better, we would have to do the addition or subtraction first. So right here, I see that I have a minus 10. So opposite of minus 10 would be plus 10. I need to get rid of that first. If I do plus 10 on the left, I need to do plus 10 on the right. I go ahead and bring that down because I didn't do anything with that. So x divided by 4 equals negative 6 plus 10. Same sign add, different sign subtract. So 10 take away 6 is 4, and I keep the sign of the bigger number, so it's a positive 4. Now I'm not done yet because I have my second step to do. I read this x divided by 4. Opposite of divided by 4 is going to be times 4, so that gets rid of that. If I do times 4 on the left, I need to do times 4 on the right. So we have x equals 16. This is what I think my answer is, but I need to go back and check it to make sure that I am right. So I'm going to go plug this back in. So 16 over 4 minus 10 equals negative 6. I just plugged it in. It's this equation right here, but instead of x, I put in my 16. Now, PEMDAS, parentheses, there aren't any. Exponents, there aren't any. Multiplication and division. Ooh, there is division. 16 divided by 4 right here. That becomes 4 minus 10. I'm going to bring that down. Equals negative 6. 4, I'm on positive 4 on the number line. Minus 10 means I have to go backwards 10. Backwards 10 is going to land me at negative 6 equals negative 6. I've checked it. My answer over here was correct. So we have both sides complete. We're going to do many more examples in class, so don't worry if you're still like, I don't know what to do first. It'll be okay. Just go back to your steps. Get rid of the constant, then get rid of the coefficient. You guys are set. Thank you for watching the video, and we will see you tomorrow.